Hello, welcome back. I'm with Andrew Williams at Beaver Creek at the Precious Metals Summit. Andrew, good to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Thanks for having me here, Peter.
Also, one day in as new CEO.
That's right. Yeah, hot off the press.
Yeah, good time to be chatting. Why don't we, obviously you've been for the company since the beginning of the year, I believe,
That's right.
haven't you? Why don't you just give us a bit of an overview as to who you are and who the company is?
Sure, yeah. So Andrew Williams, I joined the company as president in January of this year, and just yesterday, as you mentioned, I was promoted to being the CEO of the company. And New Pacific Metals, we're a precious metals focused exploration and development company operating exclusively in Bolivia. We've got 3 projects: our flagship silver sand project, the discovery that put us on the map in 2017, and then our Kangas Project, one that we just released an inaugural resource estimate on last week, and we also have a 3rd project, our Silver Strike project, highly prospective exploration ground, also in Bolivia.
Good. Okay, and just before we get into the thick of it, talk us through your capital structure, so market cap, cash in the bank, burn rate, things like that.
Sure. So our market capitalization, depending on the day, it's volatile, but between 350, 400 million US dollars. We've got about 160 million shares outstanding. And our cash position at June 30th was roughly $6 million, which is enough to take us through for a little bit here. But we are a pre-production story, so it is no secret that at some point we will have to top up a little bit.
Of course. Let's touch on your first asset to begin with, because obviously you've got some economics around this now, right? I guess over the years, how has this project developed? Because like you said, it's been put on the map in 2017. How are you now looking at this asset? Obviously, new CEO. Is this still the main focus for you?
Yeah, silver sand is still very much our flagship project. If you just look at the size of the deposit, 200 million ounces of pure silver, open pittable, right to surface, high grade, high recoveries. It's pretty difficult to match that kind of a profile. And so we've now drilled silver sand for 5 years. We've drilled 550 holes, 136,000 meters. 2 resource estimates, almost all of it is now in measured and indicated resource, and we just published a PEA study in January of this year. So for us, really, the next important milestone is to upgrade that PEA study into a pre-feasibility study, which we're targeting for early next year.
And talk to me a little bit about the mine plan and the PEA, and I guess are you expecting that to change at all for the PFS?
No material scope changes. So we outlined a 4 million ton per annum plant, about 11,000 tons a day on a calendar day basis for our PEA, and I wouldn't expect any significant changes to that for the PFS. So that's a 14-year mine life averaging 12 million ounces of silver production per year, roughly $10.40 all-in sustaining cost. And importantly, at our silver sand project, we get into the best grades of the system early on, which drives a sub 2-year payback period on the capital. So 12 million ounces per year for 14 years, but we get 16 million ounces per year of silver production in each of the first 4 years.
Nice, okay. And just remind me of CapEx, NPV, things like that, PostTax Numbers.
So the CapEx was $308 million initially, and the after-tax net present value was $726 million. That's at $22.50 silver, and a 39% IRR. So if you look at the NPV of 726 versus a CapEx of 308, it's an over 2x NPV to CapEx ratio, and like I said, sub 2-year payback period. I mean, the economics on this project are just fantastic.
Okay, so big tick box on the economics. I guess being in Bolivia, altitude, permitting, what are the next steps? Is it a case that with the permits, do you need to get the PFS done then first and then do the permits like you do in other jurisdictions? How does that work in terms of progressing this project?
Yeah, good question. You can submit an environmental impact assessment on a PEA study. You can also submit it on a pre-feasibility study. So, I mean, what we will do once we complete our pre-feasibility study is we'll swap that in from our current PEA study. But really, it's not much different than any other jurisdiction. Bolivia is a mining country, after all. There's been mining there for hundreds of years. Major mines were developed 10, 15 years ago in the last cycle, and so the process is well defined. You need to collect sufficient baseline data, both environmental, social. You have to put together an impact mitigation plan and a monitoring plan, and then that all gets submitted as part of your broader permit submission, and then the review period, and so we're in the thick of that right now.
Okay. What about socially? Obviously, in Bolivia, a very important aspect of it is obviously community relations. Where's the nearest community? How are the relationships with them? How's that ongoing at the moment?
Yeah, so I mean, it's no different in Bolivia than any other jurisdiction, really anywhere in the world, that the community is of critical importance. When we are proposing to build a major mining operation, so naturally, folks are interested in what's going on. What's interesting about our silver sand project is that a lot of the folks that are there don't actually live in the community. They live in the surrounding cities, which is a unique situation. From an environmental perspective, it's a fairly benign site. So it's really getting the communities all in alignment. It's not just one; there's a few of them. Not huge numbers of people, but nonetheless, it is an intensive exercise. Won't sugarcoat that. And so, what we've been doing as part of our transition this year from being a successful exploration company into a project development company is really bringing on that capability in-house. We've really enhanced our CSR team on the ground in Bolivia because it is a significant exercise, but it's one that's been done before. So we just got to make sure that we're up to the challenge and committing and we're focused on our goal, which we are.
And I guess more of this will come out in the PFS, but what does the flow sheet look like, and have you done any MET testing or anything like that on the project yet?
Yeah, a lot of MET testing. If you rewind before the PEA study was released, we did a ton of, should this be a heap leach operation? Should this be a mill operation? A lot of trade-off work that typically happens in a pre-feasibility study. We did that up front. And ultimately, at the end of the day, grade 1, the grade is so high for an open pit that it just made sense to go for the full crush, grind, get the 91% recovery as opposed to the, call it 70% that you get on a heap leach. So we made that commitment as part of the PEA study. So not a lot of additional trade-off work needs to go into the flow sheet for the pre-fees. We'd expect it to be similar to the PEA study, and just we are collecting more data. So it's just going from a plus minus 30% accuracy to a plus minus, call it 15, 20 for the PFS. So a lot more data on cyanide consumption and different domains, and making sure that we've got the oxide, the transition, the fresh all buttoned up nicely. That's been a big focus for us for the metallurgy for the PFS.
Good. And I guess the way that you're looking at this, you were talking about you've got a lot of measured and indicated already, a lot of drilling's been done. I guess the main focus for you now is just really de-risking through either permitting or through the studies, right? What else is there left to do with this project? How can you further improve it?
Those are the two most significant, right? And that's the pre-feasibility study. We haven't approved it yet, but we will likely do a full feasibility study. That'll be a next year project to tackle. But those are really the two biggest things. However, there is a third. So surrounding our 100% owned tenements at Silver Sand, there's some land that's owned by the Bolivian state-owned mining company Comibol. And so we've signed an agreement with Comibol to be able to mine and process the material on their ground, subject to an additional 6% royalty. But now that agreement has to be ratified in a parliamentary session. So that's something that we are also working towards this year. We've got a very focused team on that file this year, and something that we are working towards. It's complicated, right? It's politics.
Yeah, sure.
We're in Bolivia, but again, it's our job. This is one of the benefits of us being exclusively focused in Bolivia, is we can really build that in-house capability to be specialists. Good.
All right. Well, let's move on to the next bit, the Kangas Project, right? Polymetallic, a little bit different to your sort of cornerstone asset. New MRE just announced?
Yes. Yeah. After 2 years of drilling this beast, 81,000 meters of drilling, 189 holes. Just last week, we put out our inaugural mineral resource estimate, and it's big, right? 560 million silver equivalent ounces in the indicated category, another 110 million ounces silver equivalent in the inferred category. So over 80% of that metal sitting in the indicated category, which is a testament to the systematic drill campaign that our team launched, starting January of last year, January 2022, all throughout until the end of April this year. And we made the discovery late 2021, had enough confidence to really unlock that major drill campaign. So 5 rigs all throughout that time period, and then and then the result speaks for itself.
I know you're more of an not a geologist, but would you be able to just quickly touch on what sort of type of deposit this is? And I guess, because it seems like the continuity is quite impressive.
Yes.
Is there any? Yeah, would you be able to touch on that?
Yes, very much a disseminated system.
Right.
I almost my accountant brain thinks of the shape as it's like a mushroom.
Okay.
So at depth in the stem of the mushroom, we've got an extensive gold zone.
Is that epithermal? That or?
I suppose you could characterize the whole thing as
Right.
an epithermal style deposit. My geologist might watch this and have something to say to me afterwards,
okay.
but we'll go with that.
Yeah.
But the important point I always look at it, can we mine this? Can this be a mine? So you look at the stem of that mushroom, the deeper zone, about 1.3 million indicated ounces of gold, right? That's the highest temperature and pressure environment. So gold naturally likes to deposit in that setting. And then as you get further up, closer to surface with intermediate temperature pressure environment, that's where you get more of a richer zinc zone. And then as you get into the lowest temperature pressure environment, the stem of the mushroom where the bulk of the tonnage is, that's where the silver likes to deposit itself. And so that's why we see this zone system at Kangas.
Okay, interesting mine plan with all those different minerals as well at different depths. Tell me a little bit more about, obviously, what sort of grades are we looking at here? And obviously you've touched on the size of the deposit. Is the next step on this deposit a PEA as well? Is that something that we might be able to look forward to after this? MRE?
Absolutely, yes. And to contrast this with silver sand's high grade, close to surface. It's not a lot of complex thought into putting a schedule together. I mean, just go for the grade. It's right at surface. Kangas is going to be more work. We have to. There's so much metal there, and how exactly we optimize it, because it doesn't have silver sand grades. It's about 85 grams on a silver equivalent basis.
Okay.
Just over half of that metal is just pure silver. And so we're going to have to run a number of different mine schedules to see how best we can not only optimize how we mine it and pull the material out of the ground at what pace, but also how we process it. It's polymetallic, flotation, leaching. Do we leach a flotation concentrate? How do we? So that's the nut that we're going to need to crack as part of the PEA exercise. So it's going to, we're going to need some more data. We're going to need some more metallurgical data. We'll need a little bit more geotechnical data. But we're up for the task, and we think that given the size of the system, the fact that the entire resource is within an overall strip ratio of just 1.8 to 1, the top silver zone is just 1.4 to 1, roughly. So we think this thing's got a shot one day at becoming a mine, but we just need more data. Like I said, it's going to take more optimization than, say, our silver sand project, which was really a layup.
And what's the proximity from that deposit compared to your cornerstone asset? Are they relatively close?
It's about a 12-hour drive.
Okay,
along
not close enough where you could.
No,
share
unfortunately
like
not.
Okay.
No. But the road access into both projects is phenomenal. That's actually an important attribute of Bolivia. Like before I joined this company, I was 11 years on the buy side. I've probably visited almost 100 different projects all over the world. And I went to Bolivia for the first time in January, and you just fly around the country in these, not literally fly, but you're on the road, in these beautiful paved highways. And so same with both silver sand, 35 kilometers south, paved national highway with a power line. Kangas, you can drive from Oruro 35 Ks to the site, and then a nice flat gravel road. So as far as access from the projects around the country, it's actually really good.
Okay. And let's touch on your last, it's a bit more early stage exploration, right? But you've had some interesting drill results come out recently.
That's right, at our Silver Strike project. So also in a different department. Each of our projects are in different departments. They're like provinces or states. So Silver Strike, we completed a scout drilling program last year. This is a project that was once owned by Rio Tinto back in the 90s. They drilled roughly 20 holes and didn't find what they were looking for in a depressed metal price environment. But we came in, drilled this 6,000 meter program, and in the Silver Strike Central, it's our biggest land holding, but in the Silver Strike Central area, we drilled 2 holes that were each 200 meters at 1 gram per ton gold right at surface, oxidized. Hole 2, if you zoom into that further, there was a run of about 9 grams gold over 5 meters, right up against a contact with an unmineralized rhyolite body. And so we think that when we do come back in and drill Silver Strike, whenever that might be, that would be probably the first priority target for us to step out laterally on that contact as well as at depth, and maybe there is a high grade gold zone for us to target, but that's just one. There's also lower grade, more disseminated bulk silver deposits. There's historic dumps littered throughout the property. I mean, it's a big effort, but that's part of the reason why we had to put it on pause, given everything we had on our plate at both Silver Sand and Kangas.
Well, if previous results at your other assets are anything to go by, it seems like you've got a pretty experienced geological team that know where to look.
Absolutely, and you know, adding on to that point, so we've got the 3 projects, but if you rewind and look at our, say, corporate presentation 5 years ago, we just had the 1 project.
Yeah.
And then it was our in-country project generation team that found Kangas for us to drill, found Silver Strike for us to drill, and then in the background, they're still actively looking all over the country. We feel like we have a competitive advantage in the country. We know the geology well. We've got great people. So who knows? Maybe there'll be project 4, 5, 6, 7 to talk about at one of these future conferences.
Well, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it, if you could get to a point where you get your main asset into production, and then you've got this lovely pipeline of brilliant assets to flow through. Talk me through the next 12 months. So what are the main priorities? What work do you need to be overseeing as the new CEO over the next year?
Yeah, so at our flagship Silver Sand project, we got to complete the pre-feasibility study. That's an important technical de-risking milestone. And then we're likely will convert that into a full feasibility study. So that'll be kind of back half of next year. Mm-hmm. And then in that window as well, we need to obtain our environmental permits. So that's a major focus for us. You know, our goal with Silver Sand is to have it shovel ready. Right? That's the task that our team is taking on and we're committed to. So that's what you can expect from us at Silver Sand.
Do you think it will be shovel ready in 12 months?
Sort of by the end of next year is our tentative goal. I mean, again, we are dealing with, you know, it is inherently uncertain.
Sure.
So with the general disclaimer attached to it, that is certainly our goal, and we believe it is achievable. Mm-hmm. So that's at our flagship Silver Sand project. We want it to be shovel ready. And then at Kangas, so we've got this massive mineral endowment. We've defined it. So now we got to wrap a mine plan around it. So we've shown how big it is. Now we got to show what the economics of it look like. So that'll be the PEA study that we want to have published in the first half of next year.
Good.
We're also going to commit to collecting our social and environmental baseline data for our Kangas project. And then I think most importantly, which our guys are really excited about, is the Kangas discovery was blind. It sits under 35-40 meters of post-mineral cover. So we ran an IP survey in the entire Kangas Basin in January of this year, and it flagged several different anomalies in the district, one of which perfectly correlates with our known discovery. So there's a couple different areas that our guys have been mapping, and at some point, like the back half of this year, once we get additional data back that we're collecting, we'd look to drill test those and you know, prove up this hypothesis we have that what we found so far is just part of a much larger district. So you can expect us to complete that drilling you know, later this year, and then as we work towards completing our PEA study at Kangas. And then at Silver Strike, we're going to continue putting that one on the shelf. As you can imagine, our bandwidth is maxed out between the 2 projects as well. It's not a particularly encouraging silver equities market to put 200-meter runs at a gram into for news releases. We weren't getting the credit for it, so you know, why put our shareholders through that? You know, use our precious funds. So we'll wait, and once we're better positioned internally as well as the market a little more receptive, we'll look to resume our exploration at Silver Strike.
Good, exciting. Andrew, thank you.
Good, yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate the interview.
Cheers.